Hi everyone, and welcome to my attempt at a Pokemon Emerald Hardcore Nuzlocke using only rock types. Now, I'm not going to lie, rock types really aren't that great. Yeah, they are pretty defensive, but they are also countered by a lot of other types. And considering that Hoenn is known for its abundance of water, we are up for a challenge. But without further ado, here are all the available rock type Pokemon in the Hoenn dex. You got Golem, Nosepass, Aggron, Magcargo, Lunatone, Solrock, Cradily, Armaldo, Rhydon, Relicanth, Corsola, Regirock and Shuckle. But like pretty much every run, we are not going to be able to get every single encounter. First off, we play without legendaries, so Regirock is off the table. Secondly, Lunatone is a Sapphire exclusive and we're only able to pick up one of the fossils. Granite Cave is also a little stacked, housing 3 possible encounters, and Nosepass is exclusively found here. Lastly, the Safari Zone contains both Shuckle and Rhydon, so one of them will be out here as well. This leaves us with Graveler, Nosepass, Aggron, Magcargo, Solrock, either a Cradily or Armaldo, either a Rhydon or Shuckle, a Relicanth and a Corsola. A pretty decent list actually, with some very cool Pokemon. Anyway, here's how the run went. We start the run in a moving van. Despite how nostalgic the opening is for me, it still feels weird to just be stuffed away in a moving van. Anyway, we help the professor and pick up a starter. I went with Torchic, so our rival will have Mudkip. This seems like the most challenging starter for our rival, even though all 3 will eventually be a hurdle for rock types. Sceptile has its grass typing and Blaziken has its fighting typing. Since we can't actually get our first encounter until we reach Dewford Town, I cheat a little and manipulate the spawns. One of the first rock type encounters in the game is an Aron, so I encounter him and catch him. I name him Ruby. After catching our actual starter, we make our way to Petalburg, help Wally catch his Ralts, and eventually arrive in Rustboro City. Here we have our first gym badge, and luckily we finally have a somewhat easy time here. Ruby knows Metal Claw, which is super effective against all Roxanne's Pokemon. Roxanne sends out Geodude and I hit a Metal Claw. The first one immediately raises our attack, and the second one takes out the first Geodude. The second Geodude is one-shotted by a Metal Claw, and lastly is Nosepass. Nosepass is very defensively strong, and a Metal Claw does about half. Nosepass then uses Block, which is useless, and we nearly take it out. Roxanne then heals Nosepass, and we just keep on spamming Metal Claw. 3 more take it out, and we have our first badge. Right after beating Roxanne, we witness a hit and run. We go after the guy and beat him up. Luckily, the Team Aqua guy only has a Poochyena, so he's easy. But in the later parts of the game, these guys will have a water Pokemon, and that can be quite scary. Anyway, with that behind us, we can make our way to Dewford Town. Here we have access to our next encounter. I actually have 2 choices here, go for a Geodude or delay until we get Rock Smash, catch a Geodude elsewhere and catch a Nosepass here later on. One of the main reasons I like doing these Monotype challenges is that it forces you to use lesser used Pokemon. Nosepass is the perfect example of a Pokemon I just never use, so I would really like to get one here. However, with just an Aron, Brawly is near impossible. I wiped here a few times and that's because we're quite weak to fighting moves. And with just Aron, we cannot really take out 3 different fighting types. So sadly, we need to catch a Geodude here, and that means that we no longer have any chance of finding a Nosepass. I catch a Geodude and I name it Diamond. But even with a Geodude, Brawly will be really difficult. This battle is really RNG dependent as we need to get a few high magnitude rolls. Otherwise, we're easily swept. I wiped a few times here, but eventually I managed to pull through. Of course I lead with Diamond and a Machop hits a Seismic Toss. This is actually great as all the other moves would have been much worse. I set up a defense curl, which allows me to live a few more hits. After that, it's time for Magnitude. I hit a Magnitude 7 as Machop uses Bulk Up, upping his defense and attack. I hit another Magnitude 7 and Machop goes for another Bulk Up. He then Karate Chops me down to 7 HP as we hit another Magnitude 7 to take it out. In comes Meditite and as long as we hit it, he cannot hurt us. A Noran Berry restores some of our HP and we just spam Magnitude. We got lucky on the first hit and a Magnitude 9 kills it. Lastly is Makuhita, who goes for Bulk Up, as I hit a Magnitude 7 for about a third. We then hit a low Magnitude 6, but we crit and we take out the Makuhita. Finally. With the second batch, we can now make our way to Slateport City. Here we have another encounter with Team Aqua, but they still suck and are easily dealt with. But we're now up for another amazing challenge, the fight with May. May's team is stacked against ours. She has a Marshtomp and Lombre who are super effective against rock types, and she also has a Slugma who can do massive damage against Ruby. Against May, I open with Ruby and I set up an Iron defense. Lombre uses Absorb, but we can easily take it. I then set up another Iron defense as Lombre goes for Swift. I then go for a third Iron Defense and use Metal Claw after. I know that this base has Marshtomp, so I go for a Mud Slap to lower its accuracy. Luckily I was right and I just keep on spamming Mud Slap. Marshtomp goes for Bite, so we can get in a few more free Mud Slaps. And this really lowers its accuracy. After taking it to -6, 3 headbutts take it out while Marshtomp just keeps on missing all of its moves. In comes Lumber and I hit a Metal Claw, which gave us the attack boost. 2 more headbutts take it out, and lastly a Slugma. He goes down after 2 Mud Slaps, winning us the battle. Luck was on my side here, but we made it. Next up, we take on Wally, which was an incredibly tough fight. We had to press headbutt, and that was it. Next up is Watson, and I think we finally have a relatively easy Watson fight. Last time was with bug Pokemon only, and that was incredibly difficult. But now, we have a much better lineup. Against Watson, I open with Diamond. A Magnitude 7 makes easy work of the Voltorb, and in comes Electrike, who also goes down to a Magnitude 7. Magneton then also goes down to a Magnitude 7, and Manectric goes down to a Magnitude 5 and 8. This is his second Magnitude sweep by Diamond, and I'm loving it. After the battle, he evolves into a Graveler, well deserved. We can now move on to the Fiery Path, where a new encounter awaits us. It's a Slugma. I catch it and name it Obsidian. However, Slugma isn't a rock type yet, so for now he'll have to wait it out in the box. Luckily, another encounter isn't far away. We make our way to Falarba Town, and from there we can go to Meteor Falls. Here we first see Team Aqua and Team Magma annoy each other, but after that we find ourselves a Solrock. I catch it and name it Lazurite. Solrock is another one of those Pokemon I never really used before, so I'm really excited to use him. Now that we have half a team, we make our way to the top of Mount Chimney, where we challenge Maxi. I lead with Ruby and Mudslap to Mightyena to lower his accuracy. He retaliates with a bunch of sand attacks, so we both just keep on missing our moves. Eventually, Maxi switches into Camerupt, and knowing there was an incoming Magnitude, I switch into our newly caught Levitating Solrock. I then proceed to spam Rock Throw and Confusion until the Camerupt finally went down. It took a while though, but it worked. We are in the red now, so against the Zubat I switch into Diamond. A Rock Throw takes it out, and in comes to Mightyena. He goes down to a few Magnitudes, winning us the battle. After Maxi, it's time for the Forest Gym Leader, Flannery. Now Flannery is a Fire type Gym Leader, so I'm not sweating it too much. I led with Diamond and Flannery sends out a Numel. 2 Rock Throws take care of it, and in comes Slugma. He also goes down to a Rock Throw. In comes Camerupt, and I bring in Lazurite. I go for a Rock Throw, but Camerupt sets up a Sunny Day. Knowing there's a Torkoal with Overheat in the back, I decide to spam Harden a few times. Another Rock Throw takes care of the Camerupt, and lastly is Torkoal. For some reason he goes for Body Slam, as we had a few Rock Throws. We keep on taking it into the healing range, but eventually we hit a crit and take it out. The crit wasn't necessary, but it did speed some things up. After beating Flannery, the desert opens up, and although the desert itself doesn't house a new encounter, the Mirage Tower does. There are 2 fossils here, and since I took the Claw Fossil last time, I took the Root Fossil in this run. Even though I like Cradily, I regret picking this fossil. I picked Cradily for its grass type, but it turns out that both Lileep and Cradily learn 0 grass moves by leveling up. Also, our model was amazing in our Emerald Bug Nuzlocke, so even though Cradily is nice, I think the run would be much easier if we went for a Maldo. Anyway, I made sure to revive the fossil and named our new Lileep Emerald. After this slight detour, we continue the story and take on our dad. Against him, we open with Ruby as he sends out Spinda. I go for Iron Tail and do great damage, but Spinda confuses us. I then hit myself before hitting a headbutt and leaving it on about 1 HP. Spinda is then healed as I hit another headbutt. We're confused again, but we snap out immediately and hit an Iron Tail for the kill. In comes Slaking, so I Mudslap for lower accuracy. He uses counter, but thanks to the low damage of Mudslap, it barely does anything. I then hit 4 more Mudslaps, putting him at -6 and switch over to Iron Tail. I then hit Mudslaps on his moving turns, so counter does little to us, and hit Iron Tails on the loafing turns. This eventually took out the Slaking. In comes Vigoroth, so I switch over to Emerald. He hits a Confuse Ray and then proceeds to spam Acid. Vigoroth just keeps on hitting himself, so that's awesome. Eventually he snaps out and hits a few slashes. We confuse him again though, and then we swap to Diamond. Diamond hits a Magnitude 8 after Vigoroth is healed to full. 2 more Magnitudes take out Vigoroth, and lastly is Linoone. He also goes down to 2 Magnitudes, giving us our 5th badge. Now with our new level cap, we can finally evolve our little Ruby into a Lairon. With our newfound powers, we go to the Weather Institute and completely demolish Team Aqua. It's really fun how a 4 times weak Graveler can easily take out a Gravana. Anyway, this was a really short part and we now have to take on May. May is still a bit of a problem, but we have a much stronger team now. She once again opens with Lumbra and I send out Emerald. I go for a few acids and after 4 moves we take it out. In comes Slugma, who also catches an acid. I then confuse it and use another acid. This does little damage though, so I swap into Diamond. He hits the Magnitude, taking out the Slugma. Lastly is Marshtomp, so I swap into Lazurite. Luckily, Marshtomp uses a ground type move, so we have a clean switch in. We then spam a bunch of confusions and rock throws and we eventually take the Marshtomp out. And like that, we arrive in Fortree City. Here's a flying type gym leader who should be easy. However, she is actually a lot more difficult than you might think. I first debated just going for a rollout with Diamond, but Pelipper outspeeds us and one-shots with Water Gun, so that threat isn't viable. Aside from Pelipper, Skarmory is also going to be a problem. His Steel type makes our rock moves much less useful. Eventually, I came up with a strategy, and here's how it went. We open with our own Steel Beast, Ruby, as Winona sends out Swablu. I hit an Iron Tail for a clean Oko, and in comes Altario. I know she likes to use Earthquake, so I swap into her Levitating Lazurite. We're correct, and he comes in without taking any damage. I then use a Cosmic Power to up our defense and hit a Rock Throw for over half. A Berry takes it out of the kill range though, so he's healed up. We hit another Rock Throw and Winona gets greedy and sets up even more. One more Rock Throw takes it out. In comes Tropius and I outspeed and hit another Rock Throw for over half. Knowing I outspeed, I hit another Rock Throw for the kill. Pelipper meets the same fate and is hit by a crit Rock Throw, easily one-shotting it. Lastly is Skarmory and Rock Throw does little damage. I go into Emerald to confuse it, but we're left at 8 HP. Well confused, I go into my only option, Ruby. Ruby is really the only guy that can take Steel Wings. We fire off some Iron Tails, which actually does great damage, and we eventually take it to about 1 HP before the Skarmory is healed up. We then spam even more Iron Tails, and despite 2 sand attacks against us, we hit them all and take it out. With our 6th batch, we open up our new encounter. I make my way to Lilycove City, and here we can access the Safari Zone. Here I can catch either a Shuckle or Rhyhorn, and I choose the latter. I catch one and name her Amethyst. After leveling Amethyst up, we head up Mount Pyre and take on Team Aqua again. Just like all the time, they were a joke. Just imagine getting constantly beaten up by a kid who plays with rocks. On top of Mount Pyre, we were told we need to take on both the Team Aqua and Team Magma hideouts. So I make my way there and we start off with Team Magma. Rock is of course super effective against all of them, so this was easy. Against Maxi, I open with Diamond as he sends out Mightyena. I hit a really weak Magnitude and he uses Takedown. I then hit a Magnitude taking him into the heal range, and after that I hit another hard Magnitude as Mightyena swaggers us. Next Magnitude takes it out. In comes Camerupt and I swap into Lazurite. We hit a few Rock Slides, flinch it and take it out. Crobat also cannot take 2 Rock Slides and he goes down. Easy. With that we can now make our way to Monotype City and here we can pick up the Super Rod. This actually opens up another encounter. On Route 128 we encounter a Corsola and I catch it. I name her Sapphire. Corsola has a really low encounter rate and fishing in general just really sucks, but I'm still excited to use her. Just like Solrock, I never really used the Corsola. While grinding for Tate and Lysa, we got a lot of evolutions. At level 42, Ruby evolved into an Aggron. At level 40, Emerald evolved into Cradily. At level 42, Amethyst evolved into Rhydon. And at level 38, Obsidian evolved into Magcargo. With that, it's time to take them on. We lead with Sapphire and Emerald against Salto and Claydol. Sapphire goes for Surf and Emerald goes for Confuse Ray on the Claydol. Claydol hits a really hard Earthquake, nearly taking out Sapphire, and I then swap into Lazurite as Emerald goes for the Bullet Seed on the Claydol. Claydol hits himself and Bullet Seed gets it into the red. Next turn, Claydol is healed to full and I go for Rock Slide and Bullet Seed on the Claydol. We do the same next turn and Rock Slide takes out the Salto. Next turn is again the same, and the Rock Slide plus Bullet Seed combo takes out the Claydol. Emerald is low, so I swap him out for Diamond, and Lazurite goes for Rock Slide again. Lunatone sadly hits a critical hit Psychic, which takes out Diamond, our first death, rest in peace. I bring in Ruby and go for Iron Tail on the Solrock. This takes it out. Next turn we go for another Rock Slide and Iron Tail combo and this wins us the battle. Pretty sad that we lost Diamond, but that does open up a spot for Obsidian to join the team. In the Space Center we once again make easy work of Team Magma and we can now use the HM for Dive. This means we can go underwater, where we can catch our final encounter, a Relicanth. I catch it and name it Verdite. And just as Obsidian joins the team, he goes back to the box. Underwater we had to take care of Team Aqua for one final time. Archie opens with Mightyena and Ruby is our lead. 2 Iron Tails take it out and in comes Crobat. He also goes down to 2 Iron Tails and lastly is Sharpedo, and another Iron Tail takes it out. I hope he now realizes we're just better, and he does, as he immediately resigns. We do still need to save the world by unleashing Rayquaza, but after all of that we can do what's important again. Use our living rocks to beat up other people's pets. Last on the agenda is Juan, the water type gym leader, and I'm actually a little scared here, but I have a simple plan. I taught Lazurite, Calm Mind and Psychic and we're about to sweep her. I open with Verdite and Juan opens with Love Disc. I use 2 ancient powers to take it out and in comes Witch Cache. I use Jan on it and swap to Lazurite. I set up 5 Calm Minds and since the AI likes to use setup moves as I use them, Witch Cache goes for Amnesia. After 5 Calm Minds I use Psychic, which doesn't do that much due to the Amnesia boosts. I spam a few more Psychics but then swap to Rock Slide. We actually get 2 flinches in a row and Witch Cache goes down. In comes Celio, who goes down to 1 Psychic, and Kingra, who also goes down to 1 Psychic. And Crawdont, who I accidentally also use Psychic on. 2 Crab Hammers then almost take me out, so I need to swap. I go into Verdite, and Verdite also nearly goes down to Crab Hammer. So once again I switch, this time to Emerald. Crawdont is healed to full and I confuse it. We then hit 2 more Booted Seeds and he goes down, granting us our 8th and final badge. We then make our way to the Victory Road, beat up Wally and arrive at the Pokemon League. Once again, we made it with only 1 death. But we're not there yet, the Elite Four won't be easy, and with Wallace as the champion, we could still easily lose. I leveled everyone up and the final team includes Aggron, Rhydon, Solrock, Corsola, Redicant and Cradily. And with that, we approach our final challenge. Against Sydney, I open with Verdite. He hits a Surf for just over half and the next Surf takes it out. In comes Cacturn and I use Yawn on it. I then swap to Lazurite and we're leech sheeted. I go to Emerald to shake off the leech sheet and go back to Verdite. I hit a Rock Tomb and as Cacturn wakes up, I go back into Emerald. I confuse it and hit an Astonish. This takes Cacturn to about 1 HP and he's healed up back to full. So I confuse it again and just keep on spamming Bullet Seed. I alternate between Bullet Seed and Confuse Ray a lot and after a good while, Cacturn finally goes down. In comes Shiftry and I send in Lazurite. I go for a Rock Slide as he double teams and we connect, one-shotting it. When Crawdont comes in, I go back to Verdite and hit a bunch of Ancient Powers and Rock Tombs. We do get into the red though, but Crawdont goes down. Lastly is Absol and I go into Amethyst. 1 Earthquake takes it out. Next up is Phoebe and I once again lead with Verdite. I go for Yawn on the Protect and follow up with another Yawn. I then stall a turn and swap into Lazurite. I set up 2 Calm Minds and a Rock Slide takes care of the Dusclops. Psychic nearly kills the Banette and as he's healed up, I can set up another Calm Mind. Now at +3, Psychic one-shots and in comes another Bayonet, who's also one-shotted. Dusclops comes in and he also goes down to a few Psychics. And lastly is Sableye, who's immune to Psychic. But not to Rock Slide, we 2-shot it and win the battle. Against Glacia, we're going to utilize a very similar strategy. On the first turn, Verdite yawns Cecilio and we switch to Lazurite and set up 5 Calm Minds. The Cecilio stays asleep all the time and as he wakes up, he goes for Heal. Psychic Oko's it and the incoming Glalie also goes down to 1. Next Glalie goes down to Rock Slide, Walrein goes down to Psychic and Celio goes down to Rock Slide. Another easy victory. Next up is Drake and thanks to the many flying dragon dual types, we are actually somewhat okay here. Verdite is our usual lead and instead of Yawn we go for Rock Tomb. We then alternate some Ancient Powers and Rock Tombs until Shelgon is healed. I then go for Surf and with some luck he just happened to swap into Flygon. I yawn the Flygon and on the Earthquake I bring in Lazurite. 2 Calm Minds later we take the Flygon out with Psychic and the Salamence with 3 Rock Slides. We're left at 21 HP though, so when Kingdra comes in I need to switch. I go into Emerald to confuse it and then use a bunch of Bullet Seeds. Kingdra hits a few good Surfs though, taking me into the low yellow. I bring in Sapphire and Ancient Power nearly takes it out. The next turn, Ancient Power kills the Kingdra and in comes Shelgon. I use my remaining Ancient Power and swap into Ruby. Iron Tail takes it out. Lastly is Altaria and I go into Amethyst. I miss 2 Rock Blasts and get taken all the way down to 6 HP and paralyzed. Damn. I need to go back into Ruby and luckily 2 Iron Tails take it out. That could have gone really wrong if he missed too many Iron Tails. But now it's time for the champion. Before we start, I teach Emerald the Giga Drain TM and lead him against Wailord. We can 2-shot it here, but it is a range. Luckily we hit it and thanks to Giga Drain recovery, we're nearly at full HP. In comes Milotic and I go for Confuse Ray. But Milotic hits a critical hit Blizzard, taking out Emerald. Rest in peace. I send in Sapphire and Mirror Coat his Surf right back at him, taking out the Milotic. With that, Sapphire has served its purpose, so I let him go down against the Gyarados. I bring in Verdite and go for Ancient Power as Gyarados sets up a Dragon Dance. I just keep spamming Ancient Power and eventually the Gyarados goes down, leaving us in the low yellow. Witch Cache comes in, so Verdite's last move is going to be Yawn, putting it to sleep and himself going down to an Earthquake. I bring in Lazarite and set up 6 Calm Minds. I then go for Solar Beam, take out the Wish Cache, and Ink of Cruel, who goes down to his Psychic. Lastly is Ludicolo, who also goes down to his Psychic. And with that, we're the champion. This was an amazing run. I had such a great time using a bunch of Pokemon I never really got to use. Aggron, however cool it is, I don't really use it that much. Solrock, Relicanth and Corsola are also barely used by me, and they definitely put their weight here. Initially, I thought that this run would be kind of tedious, but it was a lot of fun. Yes, there was some setting up and sweeping, but I think that's just part of the fun. Sweeping with a team that you don't expect to sweep with. Anyway, I had a blast and I hope you enjoyed it as well. For now, it's time to move on to the next run. We're probably revisiting Kanto again, this time with a very limited selection of Pokemon. For now, thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the next one.